Second pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Golden State Warriors select Mellow from Chino Hills, California.
Lamelo Ball goes.
Wait a minute, that's not right. The Warriors with the second pick selected James Wiseman. The Hornets, a pick later, selected Lamelo Ball. You know, the Warriors at one point were so god-awful that they had a chance at the number one pick. This was, mind you, when Clay had his infamous ACL tear and Curry was injured. Speaking of Curry, he has 4 rings, just like the boat LeBron James. This got me thinking, what if Curry made an extra final, or even had an extra ring? How would that change his legacy? What if he had just a little bump? In other words, what if the Warriors drafted Lamelo Ball instead of the Hornets? The real reason, Lamelo and Curry were practically the same position and they were loaded on guards. Lacking a defensive rim-protecting center, they went with Wiseman instead. Drafting Lamelo is kinda unrealistic for the Warriors in this situation because they already have Curry and Poole, but let's say they need more help since Klay Thompson is out. Ball has a unique skill set that could, in theory, be translated into a shooting guard position. While he's known for setting up plays for his teammate, Lamelo also resembles that of a shooting guard, mainly in the way that he drives to the basket, his deep range, and his creative finishes to the basket. You know, looking at him versus Wiseman, Lamelo basically wins this race by a mile. And, well, what happens to Jordan Poole? Well, he'll eventually get traded, but he's basically limited to a role player, not just a superstar. Again, he will still be traded, but let's get to the 2020-21 season. So this is the starting 5 I could come up with. It's kind of shaky. This is the best I could come up with. See it yourself. Tell me in the comments what you agree or disagree with. And again, here is a comparison for James Wiseman and Jordan Poole. So here's the stats for Poole in terms of win value. There isn't really a war in any traditional sense. These are the best values. And alright, you can see Poole hasn't broken out yet. He'll break out the following season. And here's James Wiseman. He's got a much lower value. Nowadays, I think he's bouncing around teams. I don't really know. He's not in the Warriors anymore. That's for sure. That's what I know. And now here is the values for Lamelo. Nearly 3 win shares, nearly 2 box plus minus, though that's due to his team, and VORP of 1.4. Compared to Poole, he's nearly got 1 more win share, 1 more VORP, and compared to Poole, an extra 2.3 box plus minus. Compared to Wiseman, 2.1 win shares plus 6.8 box plus minus plus 2.0 VORP. The box plus minus is on team record. A great player on a bad team has a low box plus minus. For record, it's 43 and 29 and 5th seed. These are conservative estimates. This is without Wiseman and Poole and Ball. I guess playing time kind of. And here are the standings. You can pause the video and take a look, and the Warriors will have to play the Clippers. Now, I'm aware Lamelo did fracture his hand and missed 21 games, but it was more of a freak accident. I still think he could get injured, but playing in a crowded backfield and less exposure time, I guess they cancel out each other, and the value is still the same. The Hornets go 28 and 44, and here are the Eastern Conference standings. Hornets drop out from the race. They still have Hayward, Rozier, and others, but Lamelo really helped them. Now, looking at the playoffs, the Mavericks were able to force a Game 7 and lost by 15 points. If Lamelo had a really good performance and potentially played his best, they could have moved on. And whether they beat the Jazz is really up to you. However, I don't think they're getting past the Western Conference Finals and ultimately lose to the Suns. But if they do make it, this is like the Spurs in the late 90s, who, after Robinson recovered and got Tim Duncan, went from worst to first. The draft remains mostly the same. The Warriors still get Kuminga, and the Hornets still get Boat Knight. Boat Knight was highly touted and projected to be a top 10 pick, but just happened to fall to the Hornets. And the Warriors are still winning the finals. Even if Lamelo plays less minutes thanks to Clay, they're still winning the finals like they did in our timeline. Now Lamelo has a chip, and this not just changes his legacy as the most accomplished ball member if he wasn't already in our timeline, but it also changes the family's legacy. So Lamelo is an NBA champion, and the Warriors have an elephant in the room. They have their true shooting guard. He's an all-star, and that brings a big elephant into the room. The Warriors in our timeline had Jordan Poole break out, but since it's Lamelo breaking out, that is the question. What happens to Jordan Poole? He still has value. I mean, in our timeline, the Wizards traded Chris Paul for Jordan Poole. Poole now in this timeline is probably an above average role player or bench player. So they're not going to trade him for Chris Paul. So if not Chris Paul, then who do they trade him for? My idea was Daniel Gafford. Yeah, okay, hear me out. Daniel Gafford is a big man, a big defensive big man and rim protector, something that the Warriors wanted out of James Wiseman, but ultimately didn't get. Instead, in this timeline, they have to roll with Kevon Looney, and Looney is still staying. I mean, he still provides value, but that defensive rim protecting big man. The idea is Gafford plus a 2023 draft pick for Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is now a Washington Wizards, and yes, Poole still goes to the Wizards, but he has much less value. The Hornets without Lamelo go 37 and 45. Based on their lottery position. Now, they draft Ousmane Dieng, who, as you can see, were originally drafted by the Thunder. So, with Lamelo Ball entering his third season, the Warriors might be able to make a championship run. The West was very weak in the 2022-2023 season. I mean, the Nuggets only won 53 games. But anyway, Lamelo would actually miss time. He wouldn't be playing in the playoffs because he wouldn't play in the playoffs because he had a season-ending injury. Now here are Ball's stats in win share, box plus minus, and form. It'd be slightly inflated since he's on a better team, and here is Jordan Poole since he's on a worse team. It also would be even more deflated because he's on the Wizards. So, despite missing several games, Lamelo is a valuable asset to pair alongside Stephen Curry. On injury, Lamelo missed a ton of games due to persistent injury, including a right ankle fracture to end his 2023 season. However, on the Hornets, he played a ton of minutes, which contributed to wear and tear on his body. With the Warriors, he'll take a lesser role and play lesser minutes, which means to be less wear and tear on his body. The right ankle fracture might happen, but it would be less severe. Wiseman in our timeline was actually traded to the Detroit Pistons and only played 21 games. Now, with a full season with Daniel Gafford, again, Daniel Gafford is not a superstar. Here are his stats in the 2022-2023 season. A full season with Gafford is way more than what James Wiseman originally provided for the Warriors. And combined with Ball's limited play and Gafford fitting in the Warriors system, addressing what they lack. And the Warriors get huge bump in wins. They originally went 44 and 38. This time they could go 48 and 34, which could put them at the third seed. They get the third seed since their head-to-head record against the Kings has them leading 3-1, which pushes the Kings to the fourth seed. In our timeline, the Warriors beat the Kings as the 6th seed and the Kings as the 3rd seed. So even with Lamelo Ball, they probably still win that matchup, which brings us to the Lakers versus Warriors Western Conference semifinals. The Lakers beat the Warriors 4-2. However, In the regular season, the Lakers did have the Warriors' number. However, with the ball, they could have flipped a matchup. Now, looking at the West Conference semifinal, the Warriors lost 2-4 to the Lakers. However, some games were particularly close. Game 1 and Game 4. I just used a B-roll for Game 1, and it was, if they can steal one game with a more beefed up roster and more momentum, they'll bring it to Game 7, which will be at home at the Chase Center. And if they win Game 7, they're going to the Western Conference Finals, where they'll face off against the Denver Nuggets. In our timeline, the Lakers were swept by the Nuggets 4-0. However, some matchups were close and easily winnable. Looking at the film, they could have won a couple lineups. Also, no, Lamelo is not coming back. Even if it's less severe, a right ankle fracture still takes time to recover. For shooting guard, they have to roll with Gary Payton Jr. or Dante DiVincenzo. However, due to a better record and a higher seeding, overall team morale is higher, not to mention they made it far. Now, in the regular season, the Nuggets had the Warriors' number, though the Warriors could have easily won 2 games had things swung a little differently. So, in the playoffs, the Nuggets swept the Lakers 4-0. However, several games were pretty close. The Warriors in our timeline were statistically better at everything than the Lakers except for blocks and rebounds. So even if Lamelo isn't playing, he still gives them scoring boost, and Gafford gives them better defense. In Game 1, the Lakers came real close to tying it with a missed 3. And guess who's known for making clutch 3s? Stephen Curry. So if Curry can tie the game and somehow take it to overtime, there's a good chance that the Warriors could win that Game 1. Not to mention, Game 2 was pretty close, and really close was Game 4. If they win another game, there'll be 2-2 split. Storytelling's sake, let's just say that they advance. The Warriors have a higher record. They've gone, in LaMelo's first season, they make it deep into the playoffs. Then they win the final, and now they're in the Western Conference final. So they're more of a threat. And again, for storytelling's sake, they advanced to the final. I mean, the Miami Heat advanced to the finals as an 8 seed, beating 2 55-plus win teams in the process. The Warriors, albeit without LaMelo, probably riding with DiVincenzo or Payton Jr. at shooting guard, they can make it and win the finals. I mean, we've seen stranger things happen. And Curry gets his 5th ring, which is kind of why I made this scenario in the first place. Now, obviously, Curry can still win his 5th ring. I mean, he's also going to be in the league when he's 40. However, looking at the Warriors' past seasons, it's looking bleak. Also, I wonder how people would view the Ball family if one of their sons actually had a ring. You can make your guesses on how the Ball family and LeVar would be viewed now. I mean, 2 championships is huge. Now, the Hornets, they failed to find their true superstar, and they're pretty bad. Bad enough that
in the 2023 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Victor Wembanyama from Nanterre, France.
I'm just going to leave it at that. The idea of Golden State drafting Lamelo is a bit out there because he really didn't fit their needs. They were already loaded on guards and really needed a center, a defensive center that is. To me, the most realistic parts are Lamelo being less injury prone, the Warriors being much more stronger, and Wemby falling to the Hornets. I don't know who the Wizards would draft without Gafford at center. I don't know if they even go to the Wizards in the first place if Chris Paul isn't signed off waivers. This is really just my first what if, and I'm going to keep it short. So really, thanks for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, be sure to like and subscribe and share with people who might enjoy this type of content.